right, so this is another episode of the Uncivilized Arts podcast. I am your host. My name is Bumi Hazan, but I go by Bandit Haze in the online space. And today, my guest is Cassie Hughes or Geeky Cassie. Let me get it. Let me put some respect on your name, Geeky Cassie. We're gonna be talking about
Hi.
Geeky Cassie, all things Geeky Cassie today. We're gonna be celebrating the fabulousness that is Geeky Cassie. So, Miss Geeky Cassie. For those who might
Hi.
not know, tell us just a little bit about yourself. Who is ya?
Oh my gosh, I wasn't ready. So I am a creator of multiple platforms. Um, with I don't know, chaotic creator, people say, but I don't know, I think that's just my life. I'm also a co-founder of Black Twitch UK, which is like a platform that tries to amplify creators on um, on Twitch who are black. And I also own an events um, company and a care agency. So yeah, that's I try to incorporate that with my creation and yeah. Is that enough? Did you like add more
I
things?
think that's okay for the
Okay,
moment.
cool. I was just gonna
Um,
keep going.
yeah, just
In
yeah,
year
we'll just
10, I
but
did
that's a
like
whole hour just going.
yeah.
But no, yeah, I do want to talk to you about the mental health work that you do. But before
Yeah.
we get to that, let's go all the way back to the beginning. So, how did it start for you? Like, at what point in your life did you realize, I'm a geek. Like, I like video games. I like all these cool stuff. Like, what point did you realize you like this stuff, more than
Everyone
most other
else.
people?
Probably like probably quite young because I played games with my brother. So I started off playing like things like Duck Hunt and like 007. Is that like yeah, GoldenEye,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
for the
like
N64.
Zelda. Yeah, yeah. And like I realized like the amount of time like and the excitement that I had for it, maybe like other people weren't as excited about it. And I've always been like the like the weird one because I used to be like obsessed with maths. Like maths was my thing, like
Mm.
equations. So I remember like I got to a point where we got separated in class because myself and like another girl, we just kind of like surpassed what they were doing in class. So we had our own separate thing. And we just used to sit there and we talk about music and we talk about games. We try and make our own games and like class. It's just I don't know. And I guess from there, but then as like I got older, um, I just kind of used it more of like an escapism thing.
Mm.
Um, uh, my Xbox 360 carried me throughout
Mm.
university, but it was doing some heavy work. Then I made the mistake of playing in The Sims. Oh my god, I was
Mm.
awake for like 36 hours one day and I had an exam the next day. So that's when I went, maybe you might be a bit of a geek, Cass. Maybe
Maybe.
this isn't normal. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Sims seems to be like a super popular game.
Mm.
And at the risk of sounding just a little bit sexist, it
Oh
does
my
seem to be
god.
very
Yeah.
popular amongst girls.
Really?
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Even girls that, don't play a lot of games, they seem to, play Sims. Like lots of people I know, well, lots of girls I know have played The Sims and spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
What would you say the appeal of a game like Sims is for someone like myself who's never played it?
If you've got no control of the world, you can run the world. And if you've got a god complex, you can be like, "Hi, I'm gonna raise you and then murder you." So what I do is I create my boyfriends in the game and then I drown them in pools. So yeah,
Ah, okay.
that's not what I do. Why are
Uh,
you just accepting that?
no, because I'm
Why
thinking,
did I tell you
I,
that? And
I
you're like,
could,
yeah, that's
well, I could understand that kind of appeal. Like,
what?
you
No,
could
that makes me
create
sound like a serial
scenarios.
killer.
I mean, I hope it then prevents you from doing it in real life.
Like,
If you,
okay, I'm just putting
if
it
you,
out there. I'm not a serial killer, but also, no, I do think it's a thing of like, um, there's loads of different ways to play. It's really immersive, and also it's like so accessible as well. Um, it doesn't really matter the degree or like level that you have with gaming.
Mm,
You can play it however you want to. And I didn't think it was possible to be good at Sims, but you can be good at Sims, and apparently I'm not. And I think like having creators that can mod and like create custom content for the Sims helps to kind of personalize it more, which is why yeah,
mm.
being able to create in the game like characters that look however you want to. I don't know. I guess that's something that I find appealing, and I'm guessing maybe that's what others find appealing as well. You can
Okay.
create worlds that you want to, and in other games, you don't necessarily have that power to do that.
Okay, so I guess there's a lot of control that it gives you
Yeah.
over how you play it, what you do, and you mentioned sort of the modding part
Mm,
of it as well. So yeah, I mean modding,
mm.
I guess is just kind of a big thing anyway. And so I guess with a game like this, it adds that extra layer of creativity and exploration to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So.
cool. Maybe I'll try The Sims one of these days.
Yeah, it's not.
Maybe,
I don't really play it
maybe.
that much anymore. But when I first like when I was at uni, 100%. I feel like with The Sims, I'm not really like I play The Sims, and like I love The Sims, but I see how sometimes other people are, and I'm like, I'm probably like I don't dedicate like hours and hours of it daily like I do now.
Mm.
Like others do, but yeah, I think it's good. I think you should try it. Definitely get like some custom content so you can make you, and there's like fun challenges you can do. But like my backlog is so much that I'm like, okay, I need to play other games as well.
Yeah, I feel that's like. I mean, my Steam catalog, my Steam library. There's so many games in there that I still haven't played yet. Some of them, in fact, a lot of them haven't even downloaded yet. You
Oh my
know,
gosh, what's on your list? What's on
oh,
your list to
I'd have
play?
to look to check, but there's loads because you know what it is. It's like there's stuff that you get on sale and you just think it's like
Mm.
20p, 50p. Yeah, it looks alright. And then there's like times where I've bought a game and it came with like a code to get a free game.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and a few times where I bought like some of these places they sell like you pay like £10 or something or £5 and they just give you like
The-
six codes or something, but you
Oh,
have
like a
no idea.
humble code. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that. But with this one, it's like you have no idea what you're getting. You
Mm.
know, it just tells you getting 5 games. You have
I
no idea
do
what they
kind of
are.
like that though.
You
Like
know,
I
they
do
could be
like the
something
fact.
amazing. It could be something
Exactly.
completely trash.
Terrible.
Most of the time, it is going to be trash. But I think I did get one decent game out of it. I think I got like, I can't remember what it was. It was an indie game that I got out
Mm.
of one of those things. So I don't remember the name of it though. But I'm pretty sure I got at least one decent game out of that. So there is possible. It is possible.
Yeah, that's good. And a lot of the time they do like bundles that um like I know they usually do it around certain months, and like if you buy a bundle, like some of it gets contributed to
Yeah.
like a thing. So yeah, I kind of like that as well. So
Okay, so you mentioned GoldenEye earlier. Like
yeah.
how into GoldenEye were you? Because like myself and my brothers back in the day, we were on that game, like on it. So how was that for you?
So to me, I thought I was fire at that game.
Hmm.
I went to a place in South London recently. I think it was in Peckham, and they've got GoldenEye there. I was not good. I was not good. When I played it recently, I was like, excuse me, have I just made up my past?
Oh,
Because
it's been a while
I
though,
thought
right?
I was
Or
fire, but when I played it recently, no, I was getting my butt handed to me like by my friends, and I was like, wait, maybe maybe I wasn't even plugged in. Maybe my brother was just mocking me.
was that with the A64 controller that they had there?
It was, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like it's a whole like the old retro setup, like the original
Hmm.
like thingy bob. So yeah, I think that's really cool. You should go check it out if you're in that area.
No, I think
But
to be fair though, like the N64 controller, like if you haven't used it for a while, and
yeah,
you get used to like the PlayStation or Xbox or other controllers, and then you go back to the N64 controller, it's pretty tricky to get back into,
I
because of
see. I
like.
needed you to back me with that. See, that's what I should have said. Okay, I should have like, yeah, all right. I'm gonna message them and be like, hey, remember 4 months ago? Well, if you go back to the
Yeah, because
controller,
like
this is why.
It is because it's like the thumbstick, the analog stick's right in the middle,
Yeah,
and if you've gotten used to things being on the side, and then you what's that, the Z triggers underneath,
yeah.
and then there's no second analog stick. It's just like the face buttons, So I mean, also, don't get me wrong, the N64 controller was amazing back in the day. It was definitely like the best controller
I
back in
think
like
I still got
late '90s,
one.
2000s. But yeah, going back to that now, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely if you've kind of been out of practice with it for a while, it definitely takes a bit of getting used to reacquainting with how things work, and it can feel kind of finicky and awkward. So controllers have
100%.
definitely come a long way since then.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've got like some of my old controllers. Like I've even got my GameCube controller, and even looking at that, I'm like, oh, it's very finicky. There's a lot of things going on there. But yeah.
Was was the N64 your first games console, or did you have something before that?
I'm trying to think. Um Dream is that a Dreamcaster? Is that what it was called?
Sega Dreamcast, yeah. That would have been 2000 something, I think. 1999,
No.
2000.
Because I'm an 80s baby. I'm older than most of the people that I know in the gaming space. I'm trying to think. I think before I had something before the N64, but it wasn't in my house. I used to go to this after school club, and you could play games. I don't know what Duck Hunt was, but Duck Hunt was on it, so I
Okay.
can't remember what that was.
NES? Would they have the light gun?
Yeah, it's got the gun and you
Yeah.
put it at the thing. I don't know
Yeah,
why
that I
I've
think
gone
that would have
into
been
gully mode. Yeah,
yeah, that would have been the NES. I mean,
yeah.
if was it the actual like sort of hand light gun, or was it more like a cannon?
No, you have
'Cause
like it's a proper
definitely okay.
gun,
Yeah, that
and
would have
then
been
you
the NES.
face
Yeah,
it to the like the monitor, and
yeah,
then you shoot.
yeah. That would have been the NES. That's back in the days. Oh man, the light guns, boy. That's they're
But all
sorely
right,
missed.
yeah,
They're sorely
let's not
missed.
focus on on how long ago that was. All right, it was a minute. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I don't
that
have
was
a
the first thing that I played with, and
yeah. I
then the
don't.
Game Boy as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that was cool. That was
yeah,
like what came with Tetris.
that was
Um,
like I feel like that was life changing
mm,
because my mum had like those games that could play like 100 games on one, and all of the games are terrible. I think she bought the thing from like Wheelhouse, and she was like, "Hey, I didn't. I've got you like a Game Boy," and it was. I was like, "This is, ma'am, this is not a Game Boy. This is um like handheld thing that's gonna break." And then like when I finally got the Game Boy, life changing. And then they bought the Game Boy Color. Oh my
mm,
god. Yeah, so I don't know
let
why
me
I'm getting so excited about it.
let me help you out with the age thing, just to let you know what kind of
Oh
age I
gosh.
am. So
Okay.
even before the Game Boy,
Yeah, yeah.
so like we had, it was like this LCD thing. It had one game on it. I don't even
Right.
remember which game it was, but it had one game built into it, and it had maybe like I think it had a D pad on one side and some buttons, maybe one or two buttons on the other side, maybe some like fighting. I really can't remember, but yeah. So you're okay. You might be
Okay.
you might be old enough to the people You're you can still feel young around me. So you
I don't even care about that, you know? Like I just think it's just fun that everyone's into gaming more. Like where
mm,
it was like a thing that like only certain people game, like that doesn't really mean anything anymore. Like everyone's kind of down and open, and I think even more people getting into gaming with like lockdown as well
yeah,
is good, and that can only be beneficial, right? So I'm
no, for
not
sure.
I'm not a thing about like gatekeeping um gaming. The more people that are into it, the more it grows, the better
Mm.
it is for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the sort of public image of gaming has definitely changed, over the
Mm,
years. Like, going way back in the day where you say you're into games or you like games, it's typically you're talking about, a young kid, sitting in a bedroom, legs
yeah,
crossed,
yeah,
small 12-inch TV, like that kind of thing, right?
yeah.
These days, you're talking about gaming, you could be talking about Call of Duty just as easy as you could be talking about Candy Crush,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's such a
Also, Candy
massive
Crush is a
thing
big
now.
boy game.
Hey,
I
Candy Crush
don't.
is pretty cool though. Still,
It is. People have
it's
been slating Candy Crush, but I've still got some. some loyal Facebook friends who send me lives every so often. So, yeah.
With a Candy Crush, they definitely know how to get money out of you. Like for real, they
Mm.
you got to be careful with that game
No,
because
you can't. You've got to break the
you,
addiction. The only way they can
yeah,
get the money from you is if you're fully addicted to it and you're like, just one more. And then
right.
there's no thing. Either
Then you
that or
know
you
what they're
need to get
doing.
lots of friends that play it so they can send you lives. But yeah.
Um, so correct me if I'm wrong because I was
Mm.
trying to look this up, but I seem to have a memory of you being with Black Girl Gamers. Are
Yeah.
you still with them?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. So with Black Girl Gamers, I feel like they're encompassing of like nearly all of us. Like if you're a black girl in gaming, you're part of Black Girl Gamers, and like everyone has like their own projects and stuff that they do. But like I very much love the work that they do, and I like I'm yeah, I'm part of Black Girl Gamers in the way that like yeah, it's our community. I'm not part of like the stream team, so they have like a focus stream
okay,
team which
right,
has
okay,
like select members. But in regards to general community, I'm a community member, and I think most black women in the space are part of it. So yeah,
okay.
um, I
So
love them.
how did you get involved with that? How did that start for you?
Um, so basically, there's a few communities. So when I first started with streaming, the first group that I actually met was Brown Girl, uh, Brown Girls Code. It's
Okay.
BGGC. I don't understand Brown Girl Gamer Code, and I don't understand why I was struggling with getting that. But yeah, like when I first started streaming, I just like came up on like loads of racism, like
Mm,
people coming to my stream being like, "Oh, you're ugly, you're fat," or blah 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 blah, just dragging. And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know what this is, but I'm not here for it." So then I stopped streaming, and I was like, "Yeah," and then after I was like, "Wait, let me go back again because who are these people?" And then just carried on streaming. And then I started to meet like community members, other people like me. And it was like the first time I was meeting proper like black girls in the space that kind of understood what it was like to start out. So I met them. And then one of my friends was like, "Oh, hey, you should check out Black Girl Gamers as well." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So then I did. And yeah, after that, like, I just kind of joined the community, met some community members. That was probably about I want to say almost 4 years ago, 4 years ago. And then, yeah, and then since then I've met like other communities and other members and been involved with others as well. So, yeah,
okay, cool. So you were streaming and then you okay.
yeah.
All right. So how did you start with streaming then? Like so from going to, gaming, you like games, regular
Mm.
gamer. How did you like go from doing that to turning that camera on and sharing it with the world? Like,
So I was in games journalism
oh, okay, cool.
for a bit. So I used to go to events like MCM and like Res and EGX, and I'd usually do like meet indie devs, or I would be interviewing like artists or actors, or just like around the back side of that. And then I wanted to like try out the games. So I'd be like trying out the games and then writing reviews on it. And I was very big into Hearthstone at the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and my friend challenged me and was like, "Oh, I don't think you're going to get to a certain level." And then he went off to Thailand, so we had a bet that I'd get to whether I'd get to this level or not. And I was like, so we had to chronicle it. So I was doing it on stream. So for him to like to see the Hearthstone plays, and then I started reviewing the games that the indie devs would send me online as well, and then it grew from there. So then I met that challenge, and then I was still doing that, and then bit by bit I started to grow a community, and then just kept on streaming, and so yeah. I
Okay.
accident. So I'd say I got into streaming out of pettiness. Like I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna make you watch, and then that's how I got there.
You know what? Real talk. Sometimes just doing things out of pettiness is just the best reason.
Honestly, the
Sometimes,
best
maybe
way.
not all the time, but sometimes.
I'm gonna put
Sometimes
that
you
on a
gotta go
t-shirt.
petty. you can't always be like, the bigger person or whatever. Sometimes you gotta
No.
be petty.
Someone said when they go low, let me go lower than that. I'm like, okay,
Right,
cool.
exactly. You go low, I go lower. You go lower than that, I'm dragging you to hell.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how I kind of got started in that. What about you? Yeah, how did you get into like the YouTube thing?
How did I get into YouTube? Wow, well, let's see. I mean, I was kind of on YouTube round about when it started, actually.
Okay, nice.
I mean, this is going back to maybe 2006, 7, I think. But
Mm,
back then, I mean, YouTube was massively different. Like, nobody
mm,
was doing it, full time or anything like that. There was next to no money, well, at all. So it wasn't even anything that people were thinking about doing as a career. At least
yeah,
most people weren't, anyway.
right.
And for myself, I was just got kind of posting random videos and stuff like that. Not just whatever. I was doing a lot of poetry at the time, so I might post a poetry
Oh, that's
video.
nice.
Um, spoken word artist around on the London scene. So every now and then I might post one of those videos and get some comments on it, which is pretty cool. But it wasn't until I think around 2011 or 12, around about then, where I was like, this is something I enjoy doing and I want to, do it consistently.
Mm,
And yeah, I've been trying to do it consistently ever since, and I've done lots of different types of videos in that time, and I haven't always been exactly consistent
yeah,
in
no,
that time
mood.
either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's definitely been for me at least a learning journey in terms of like learning about myself and
Mm,
learning about my own expression and the types of things that I like and the types of things that I'm willing to do and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's been eye opening in many
yeah.
ways that I didn't necessarily anticipate.
In a good or bad way, or in a, just an
Um,
educational way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's some good things and some bad things. Like bad things in terms of like you kind of realize going along certain paths that although they could lead to success, they could also lead you to feeling like burnt out,
Mm,
or just not really feeling like you're enjoying it anymore, feeling like you're trying to catch up with something that's constantly just running away from you, you know.
right.
And then good things in terms of learning how to take breaks, learning how to
What's that?
yeah, how to just dial things back and how
Mm,
to really concentrate on what is it that you actually want to do and not get sort of sucked into all this other things and that when that that's not going, it might be a good thing for other people but it might necessarily be good for you. And
mm,
so learning to avoid certain temptations of when you, because especially when you get the monetization coming through, it's very easy
mm,
to be like, you get a video that goes popular, it's very easy to just be like, yeah, just do that, just do that, just do that, and it's great because you can make some money
mm,
doing it. But then
right.
at the same time you just kind of, you don't necessarily always feel
Like it's
fulfilled,
authentic. Yeah.
right? And it's just not really
Mm,
you. And eventually that kind of weighs down on you. At
mm,
least for me anyway, it just kind of weighs on me. Like I'm not, other people might watch it and they might think it's great, they might like it, but
mm.
I know myself that I'm not being authentic. I know that I'm not being genuine to myself, and that kind of
Yeah,
sticks, you know.
I agree. Yeah, I know what you mean. So
So,
yeah.
with that said, actually, I guess that's kind of a nice segue into this question.
Mhm.
With authenticity and streaming,
Yeah.
being yourself, like, do you find like there's like a struggle, or maybe struggle's not the right word, but do you find there's like maybe like a conflict between the things that you want to do and the things that will get you popular, and trying to find the balance in those two? And
Yeah. No. So yeah, I know what to do to be popular. And no, I don't do any of those things. I don't really care. Like I think I get it. And I think the professionalism is the thing of like it's even like TikTok. Like
mm,
there's things that you can do on TikTok to grow quicker, right? And then that's the same with like Twitch. There's things that I know my community would enjoy, and that would be streaming like really often and streaming like horror games and stuff. But sometimes I don't want to do that. I don't. So I feel like that's not really something that works for me. So I'm less likely to do it. Um, I just, and I think I love my community so much that I'm just that you can't be anything but authentic with them. I
Mm,
think also because you create so many friends within the space and you build relationships with it, like you can't. I think true success is being able to be you and
yeah.
understanding like you can be professionally you. You can be like you there's obviously some things that you keep to yourself, but you can still be authentic and be professional. Um and you can be relaxed and be incorporate that with your content. So I I feel like I feel that pressure less at the beginning when I first started streaming. 100% I felt like I had to do certain things. I had to look a certain way. I had to do this. I don't feel like that as well. Also, because it's too tiring.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's too long to be doing that. You just got to be
Yeah.
able to be pull up and be like, "Hey, I'm going to be trashed today. Let's talk about it, babies." And yeah, I think that's what I enjoy more. I think that's why sometimes it doesn't feel as tasking sometimes, and
Mm,
I feel relaxed being with the community because you get to be there.
yeah. I think if you can build an audience around yourself about your own authenticity, it's always the best way to go. It might take longer, but
Mm,
whatever. But I feel like there's um what was a phrase speaking of it, so there's no real success when your soul is tortured. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
I like that.
if
Yeah, I mean, I don't like that, but I mean, like, I like the saying. Like, yeah, I get that, 100%. Like, how can you enjoy what you're doing when you're constantly like, yeah, no,
mm,
I agree. I get that. I'm
mm.
gonna steal that. I'm
Oh,
gonna tell
please
people I
do.
made it up myself. No, I'm joking. I'm not.
Yeah, just like be like, yeah, yeah, that's me. That's all me. 100% me. I wrote it down, copyrighted. It's all me. Um, but yeah, I feel like just with anything you do that's creative or expressive, I mean, part of that is learning about yourself and learning about what you can do and what you can't do, and
Mm,
you're not always going to get it right, and if these things are always going to be like a continual learning experience.
mm,
But I feel like there's always going to be growth in that. You can always be able to kind of look back and see how you start to see where you are and kind of know how you want to proceed those moments.
mm. Yeah, yeah. Um, I think also when I look back at like when I first started to now, it's so different. It's really surreal. Especially like someone showed me a clip from like 4 years ago and I was like, I don't know who I am. Um, but also a lot slimmer. It's mad when you look at the like your growth and you're like, who is that? The camera quality's off. Like my wig is like starting at like the way back. I'm like, just yeah, it's just that's an interesting thing to chronicle your journey, but also really positive thing as well. So yeah.
All right. So let's talk about some of your business ventures now, because you
Mhm.
have quite a few by the looks of it. I mean, I counted, I think, three or was that four? Because was it Nox Lumia,
Yeah,
Black Twitch UK,
yeah,
and then you have the Noir Network,
yeah. I'm a community
um,
manager for that. Yeah.
and wait, maybe I wrote this down wrong, but is it, I put supporting vulnerable adults. Is that the
Yeah.
Noir Network? Or is that something else?
No,
That's
that's something else.
that's
Yeah, it
something else.
sounds like a lot when you say it. Yeah. So my day job, I don't even know if I can call it a day job because technically they're all a day job now. But like my job that's outside of the streaming creation world, I own a company with my brother. It's a care agency. We've done it for I want to say almost 10 years. Um, and we it's more like community facing, providing support with to people that need support in the community, whether that be with things like dementia, um, learning support. It can vary, um, and so that I feel like gaming is really good because that's completely separate from work, so it helps me have a space from that, and then also the other way around, like that my work gives me a space from gaming as well. I think one's kind of instant gratification and the other is like just kind of like tethering me down to like
Mm,
reality sometimes, but in a really positive way. So yeah, I've been doing that for a while, and yeah, that's my job in my company. And then I've got Nox Lumina, which is I basically started that in I think February of this year. Going to like events and going to like doing things with gaming companies. I get so exhausted being like the only black person or one of the only black people in the room, because they aren't being diverse with their events, and then when you speak about it, it feels like, oh, you're being an inconvenience. And I don't think we should be begging to be in any rooms.
mm,
I think that it should just be organically, we're organically included. And if we're doing things to like say that, and then companies or brands or whoever's doing events makes it seem like that's so troublesome of them to do, we'll do our own thing. We go where we're invited. And I'm not someone that kind of like begs for anyone to do anything. Um, I give an opportunity, and then I'm like, okay, cool. You don't want to do it, well, we'll do it ourselves. So that's kind of how Nox Lumina came about. And I wanted to do kind of bespoke events. Um, Obviously, like with my background in care, I noticed that like some of the events aren't really catering to like accessibility, understanding that there's different needs for what people want in regards to like quiet spaces, whether things are like overwhelming for, I don't know, for all kinds of people that can attend. I try to do like some dry events. I like my rum punch, but sometimes in gaming events, like having too much alcohol with people that you're meant to be working with can be problematic.
mm. Getting drunk
So
and gaming, yeah,
yeah.
might not always go so well. Something might get
um
broke real quick.
Exactly. So yeah, I kind of that's kind of my focus in Lux Lumina, and I've really enjoyed it. I've had like 3 or 4 events now, and it's also a learning period, for me. Um, so yeah, and then obviously, oh gosh, yeah, it does sound like a lot. um, Black Twitch UK, I'm so proud of it. Like we've been I co-founded that with my friend Danny, um, and it's because Twitch was an absolute joke for discoverability when we set up. Like they'd had no black female partners in the UK. Danny was like the first one out of 22,000 partners, which is wild. Um, and Black History Month was coming up, and they were like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, just celebrate with in February with Americans," and that didn't make sense because obviously it's completely different. So we held our own Black History Month. We held our own Twitch Hill Carnival because we were under lockdown. So we did a little carnival online, which wasn't carnival, but it was like obviously like a little nod to it. And it was really fun. Um, and so yeah, that kind of grew from there, and then we met all of these black streamers, and then we became the first black partnered channel on Twitch in the UK, um, and that was a big deal for us, and so yeah.
So, with that actually, because I have heard a few people say, similar things about Twitch where it comes to discovering black streamers, or say, well, non-white streamers, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think they have implemented various things over the time to help with that. Have those things helped, or is it still an issue with Twitch?
Uh, no, no, I'm joking. It's hard to say. So there's a lot of like work that people. I'll be honest. Like I feel like there's a lot of staff that do things to try and help, um, and they do what they can do in their power. But overall, it needs to be a change from up top because people are limited whether they have the budget or the room and accessibility to sign off on things or to say yes to things. When you log onto the Twitch, if you're not logged into your own profile, the first streamers that you're given are all white streamers. Front page are all white creators. You barely any women, full stop. So let alone any like creators of color. So I just think that's kind of where there needs to be a change. So you can push, but it has to be like a movement altogether.
Mm,
But I'm about getting money into creators' hands, you know. So um they there shouldn't be a reliance just on Twitch. Twitch is a
mm,
service.
yeah.
Um Creators knowing how to, like, you know, pitch to brands, to create decks, how to create opportunities for themselves, and to know how to go who to go to is really important as well for us. So that's kind of like the focus.
Yeah, and there's definitely ways you can make money or even a decent living
Mm,
without having, millions of followers and,
right.
things like that. And, or, like you say, relying too much on Twitch, which I think if you're doing it in that kind of way,
Mm,
probably not a good idea to rely on any one platform just anyway,
mm,
because, rules can change, this can
yeah.
change, companies go bust, there's so many things outside of your control. So, yeah, it's definitely good to have advice about how to navigate these fields. You know,
Mm, yeah.
um, actually, you mentioned Twitch or Carnival. Was you at Notting Hill Carnival?
This year?
Just gone. Yeah.
No, because I went to Germany. I was working in I had to go to Gamescom, which was in Cologne, and so I got back, I think, on the day, or the last day, I think it was.
Okay.
So yeah, I missed it, but I did see the bus stop on Head Top.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad everyone's okay.
It was I guess one of those things that just seemed like a good idea at the time, right?
Oh my God, please! Someone said, someone said, I guess the bus stop didn't make the bus stop, and I was like, you know what? I can't do this with you lot because no one like is taking anything seriously. But yeah, jokes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think though, did you go? Were you shaking your waistline?
Not this year. No, I
You
mean,
didn't.
I didn't. I mean, I like Carnival. I've been,
Mm,
a few times in the past. I would say that it's not necessarily my thing,
okay.
but it's fun. It's a good day out for you with some decent group of people.
Hmm.
But no, not this year. This year I was actually doing another podcast on that Monday. So yeah, that was my bank holiday. Um,
Oh, I'm
Yeah, I
surprised.
wasn't quite shaking my ass in the streets, but maybe
I
wiggling my ass on the couch. So close, right? Close.
love it.
I don't know. Maybe next year we'll see. We'll see. There's quite a few things I haven't done for a while, like you mentioned MCM, like Comic Con. I haven't been to that for a
Mm,
while as well. So I think I definitely need to get back to that in the not too distant future.
yeah.
So with the supporting vulnerable adults, so how did you mentioned you've been doing it for about 10 years with your brother?
Yeah.
Like, what was the reason for starting that? Like, how did you? I know it was a very janky segue,
Mm.
by the way. I appreciate that,
No, no, it's okay.
but yeah,
Um,
how was
from
what was
grinding at
the
Carnival to
yeah yeah? I was
love
like
it.
so
Um,
unsmooth, but yeah. But yeah, how did that
um,
start? Like, what was the reasoning and the catalyst for starting that company?
okay, so I studied, well, I did social work, but I also did, I have two degrees that I don't use. So one of them is in criminology and anthropology, which is fun but not necessarily useful. And then I did social work as well, and I realised that I didn't want to be a social worker.
Mm,
And my mum did social work, and she set up a care agency like ours, but ours is a not for profit. Hers is just like a standard like care agency. And she taught us, like, even when we were younger, my mum would like go and work with people, and we would like spend time with like their kids, because you don't necessarily see how it affects, like, if your family member is kind of restricted or limited in where they can access in the community, how that can limit and restrict the children as well, sometimes. So like spending time growing up with that, like, I don't know, it just we always kind of had that in our background. And my brother graduated with business of law, so we were just like, okay. After my mum shut down her business, because I don't know, I think she just kind of wanted to like end it. My brother and I are like, well, what should we do? And then we set it up. We got my mum as like doing consultancy with us setting up, and then yeah, that's how it just kind of began. So it started off like one thing, and then it just grew really quickly.
Okay, so I guess it's kind of a real sort of family,
Yeah,
family healthcare. I'm trying to say
yeah,
mental
yeah,
healthcare organization. Okay.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of talk about sort of mental health and mental well-being in the past, maybe I don't know, 3 4 years, maybe a bit longer.
mm,
It's definitely become something that's more and more in the sort of public discussion, which I think is a good thing because
of course, yeah.
going back to my youth, it was just never brought up
Mm,
at all. Not in any
mm,
positive way. Certainly, like you might be teased or something or called whatever,
of course.
um, but it was never brought up as this is something that we all need to be mindful of, and it's not about being crazy, but
Mm,
just understanding that things do wear us down, and not just
mm,
physically, emotionally, spiritually, all these kind of things that kind of factor into this overall, say, healthy circle. If we're only looking at one part of it and ignoring the rest of it, it's ultimately not enough. That little piece can take you so far, but then the rest of it, you're just kind of drained. And yeah, so
yeah.
I do think it's a good thing that it is kind of brought up more and talked about more, and
A,
becoming
f-
more kind of normalized.
1,000%. And I think it's interesting. I mean, like as we look at like the growth of like more podcasts to do with like relationships and things like that, I kind of need these podcasts to like on relationships, not yours, and things like that, to kind of have like some work behind it. I think people do need to speak, like to do like therapy. I do think there should be like things read and people to have open discussions about like mental health more, especially when like working in the space. I think
Mm,
people that identify as like men should 100% be getting like back up as well, mainly because within the space it's I think there's more information to for accessibility to like mental health that doesn't that is like for women and like women's spaces, but like communities like say with Black Twitch UK, I know that I wouldn't necessarily be able to relate fully to some of the things that difficulties that there are for other males in the space. And I really feel like if there's more like men like speaking and talking about their experiences and the things that they go through, um it would be encouraging, and it's also important for people to have someone that they relate to. So it is good, like more and more people are talking about it, but I think we should like vary who's talking about it as well, and have like really honest like feedback about experiences that people have without the fear of judgment as well.
mm,
I'm lucky enough to um, be like an ambassador for Safe in our world, which is really focused on mental health. And I do like lots of stuff with the Samaritans, and they do a lot of things with gamers. And when I've had like mental health streams or like spoken about like things, the more you talk about it, the more people like kind of defrost and feel like, okay, I can talk about things. And you realize like how lonely people are.
mm,
Um, and how much like people keep these things like to themselves, and it is really scary because as soon as you switch off a mic, as soon as you get offline, as soon as you come home, if you're by yourself, you're instantly kind of thrust into this thing of feeling alone. And there's been so many times like being online or having Discord or just being honest about how I felt has like helped. um yeah. And I think we all get to like, I've always been open about like feeling really desolate or like having like depression over lockdown. Um
mm.
when I started talking about that with people, it made me feel like okay, people kind of relate to that, kind of push that isolation more, because sometimes when you're alone you feel like making yourself even more alone, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, no, for sure. In fact, actually, I remember one time, actually, it was actually back when I was doing more poetry,
Mm,
um, where somebody was asking a question, do you write for others or do you write for yourself?
mm.
And yeah, I feel like
That's a good question.
yeah, and I guess in truth we kind of do a little bit of both,
Mm,
but I think more than we realize, we do write for our own sanity, or we do create, I should
mm,
say, for our own sanity. You know, part of what we do, how we express our creativity and ourselves, or any kind of sort of self-expression in any kind of sort of authentic way. I think part of that, whether we kind of realize it or not, is for our own way of dealing with some of the things that we go through. You
mm,
know, and a way of maybe getting it out in some kind of say positive way, or just kind of maybe even just thinking through it. You know, sometimes we're not necessarily looking for answers, we're just
mm.
trying to do something with all this that's going on inside, you
Yeah,
know, and putting it in a place where maybe it makes a little bit more sense now. You know. And
yeah, yeah, yeah. I completely get that. Do you still do your poetry?
not as much as I used to. Haven't really been that active on the poetry scene for a good long while now, but it's kind of weird for me because I do still dibble and dabble with the writing,
Okay.
um, and I still feel like my greatest poem is still to come. You know,
Yeah.
and I don't. I felt like that for. It's been a while. I felt like that now, but I do still
Mm.
feel like that, and you know, I don't know when it's coming.
That's to
um,
start putting pen to paper.
yeah,
See if it flows.
hopefully be coming before my time is up,
Ah,
right? Um,
definitely.
but yeah, I mean, the poetry scene was cool. I think I definitely learned a lot about just myself doing it. I think just for me, in the end, it did kind of feel like more and more. It just wasn't for me anymore, you know.
Mm,
And although I still like poetry, I think what I really realize is that my biggest passion is creativity and not strictly speaking poetry.
mm,
So I like to, you know, dibble and dabble in various areas, whether that's poetry, whether that's comedy, whether that's, you know, I do a lot of movie reviews now and try to incorporate a lot of things that I like into those. And then, you know, the podcast kind of came about as another way of
mm,
being expressive in a kind of a raw, more authentic way. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of who I am now kind of came out of me doing spoken word for a while, you know.
yeah. Love that.
Well, thank you. um, you did mention podcasts though, and
Mm.
and
Oh my
men
god.
podcasts. It did kind of get me thinking about
It's not
something.
even just a menace, everyone. I need them to take
Um,
out, cut off their internet immediately.
yeah, I think you're right on that because you know what I mean it's a while ago now. I saw somebody put on Twitter.
Yeah.
They wrote men don't get therapy, men get podcasts. And I saw that and I thought, you know, well, therapy's expensive. That's what I was thinking. Therapy's
Yeah.
expensive and maybe
Yeah.
podcast is a way of just expressing yourself, right? Little
Mm.
did I know
Mm.
at the
Mm-mm.
time that yeah, there's a lot of podcasts out there that yeah, I think a lot of people out there do are dealing or are not dealing. Maybe it's the more accurate word to use with past trauma, and it's
Mm.
coming out in very toxic
Yeah.
ways. You know, very kind of hateful and damaging, and it's I feel like they. I mean, I'm no expert on the matter, but to my amateur mind, it feels like maybe they don't even realize how damaging it is and how much, you know, help they might really need, you know.
Yeah. It's not even just the men, it's like so many people because and the thing is it's quite prolific. I also think the reason why is that because people aren't talking and people have these things and people haven't done the work, the shadow work, they haven't got the therapy or whatever, someone's talking to them and they're just like, okay, I understand. They don't have the answers. So whoever's doing that, they instantly, it's a little bit like cultish, isn't it? Like, and it's how people get people into gangs where you feel so alone and then someone's like, hey, I'm like you, this is what you need to do, and you're like, oh yeah, that's the person that's got the answers for me, this is
Mm,
where I'm going to be, they understand, let's direct all of this onto that. um I also feel like Twitter and online is not real. And the
Yeah.
more people go outside and touch grass, the more they realize, okay, all of these views that we have are not like it's just a loud minor. When you go outside and you start realizing people aren't actually like this, the majority of people aren't like this, because it can be quite vile. And I think that's the only thing that kind of like helps me, is like, I'm like, please pray, hope that most normal people that are outside touching grass
Mm,
aren't aren't actually like this. Like there's a pride and the excitement that people get from being anonymous. And there's also a thing of like, I don't care that much about like the thoughts. I see people get angry and furious about things. I only care when it impacts people I think that are vulnerable, people that are like younger, people that it leads into being abusive to anyone. I think that's when it's an issue. The rest of it, like when people are out here insulting like whoever, I'm like, "Ugh, I don't care because it doesn't apply to me. Um, so you do what you've got to do to make yourself happy. But most people that are out there, like that are working and have things to do, aren't going to internalize that because they know the reality of life.
mm,
But I think it's when the youngers are taking it in and they start applying it to relationships, they start applying it to how they talk to other people. Is that not, it's insane. Like it's so scary to see that. And I think the wave of it and how suddenly it happens is where that's where I'm like, okay, cut the internet, shut up, stop
yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a kind of a crazy thing, and as much as I, love internet, big fan of it, but yeah, you're right. It's not real. And I
mm,
think there definitely needs to be that separation of online, real
yeah,
life. And
exactly.
if you spend so much time online, you could be convinced the whole world is this
Like
you know
that. Yeah,
dangerous, vile, and sure, those things exist and we should be mindful of those things, of course,
mm,
but at the same time, there's a lot of good things too. So,
yeah. Because you can curate who you're around, and you get less of it when you're in public. I being online so much and doing streaming just meant like I internalized all of these like horrible things that I was reading and all of these comments, and started to think, being chronically online, I see people say that all the time and
mm,
people use it in a negative way, but actually it's true. Like you do need that break to be like, hey, like this, there's goodness out there, and I quite like the goodness. It helps you
yeah,
refresh, avoid you being bitter.
yeah, just to
Mm.
turn that frown upside down.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey, it's corny, but it's true, right?
yeah. Okay, so
um, have you considered, by the way, incorporating, not incorporating, that's what the word I'm trying to say, combining in some way, say the gaming and the sort of streaming with the sort of mental health work? Is that something that you've thought about or decided against, or is that something that could still happen?
no, I still, in fact, I do kind of do that. Anyway, I'm going to be doing at TwitchCon, I did like mental health talks. I'm going to be doing one at the Women in Gaming's conference in a couple of weeks as well. Um, so I do sometimes, but I do think that when it comes to things like with how I do it, it's really important. If you go into because as much as you can moderate your chat, you also have to moderate yourself. So if you're like streaming, having fun, and all of a sudden you decide to like start talking about like issues that can be quite triggering without
Mm,
doing like the work for yourself and for like your chat and community first, um that can be like quite problematic. So I try to like separate that and say like, today we're doing this kind of thing, this is the content, this is what we're going to be talking about, so people have the kind of heads up and they have the capacity to be able to do that, and I also have the capacity to have those conversations. And I also underline and like constantly remind people I'm not a therapist, so sometimes I'm happy for us to have talks, but um the answers that you need to get that from a professional.
mm,
So it's good to talk, but also talk to the right people as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important. I think we can sometimes unknowingly, or maybe knowingly, I guess, to be fair as well, burden people with things that they maybe themselves aren't able to deal with,
Mm,
and kind of look to people for answers that they might not be able to give. And you know, I guess somebody like yourself would be like, "Hey, look, I'm not a therapist," but other people might be like trying to give
yeah,
answers that
I
they
know.
can't, and that could be all kinds of issues from that.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah, exactly that.
All right. All right. Let's. Okay. Well, yeah. I think we've covered quite a lot. Let's try and go back to something just a little bit lighter
Mm,
before we wrap up. So, most important question I'm going to ask you today:
okay.
what is your number one favorite game of all time,
Oh my god.
and why?
I want to say it's. I don't know. Okay, so it's a Zelda game. I don't know
Okay.
if it's
So far, so
Ocarina of
good.
Time. I don't know if it's Ocarina of Time or Link to the Past. I think I'm torn between both of them because they're like the first proper like games that I played and sat down for ages and like made me fall in love with like gaming and being like so annoyed with a game and then coming back to it because some of those like tests was like hard. They were really
Mm.
hard and I'd be like, right, I'm so frustrated. Do you know what? I'll never forget. I was playing one on like my 3DS and like there was a map and I was trying to figure out something for so long, and I got so annoyed with it, and I closed my DS, and that was the clue. You had to close the DS
Oh,
to
really?
get it. I was when I tell you I was fuming
Yeah.
because I closed it and I was like, I'm done. And all I heard was and I was like, no, you did not. I opened it and they were like, you've unlocked it. So you spent made me do this for 3 days, and only when I was about to dash you in the bin were you like, and I kind of enjoy the fact because I instantly was like, all right, I'm back in it. So yeah, I quite enjoyed that about like Zelda because it was like challenging but fun and also like such a good story. So yeah, I think definitely Zelda. Um, I'm gonna go with Ocarina of Time. Would be my favorite game of all time. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and I'd agree with that. Ocarina of Time was is that, yeah, that's my favorite game of all time for
I've
a
got one as
bunch of
well.
reasons.
I've got an
It's
Ocarina, the one
yeah.
from Zelda. Hold on,
Oh, like the
wait,
can you play it?
it's here. Oh God, it's got.
Can you
It's
pull
the dust
Epona on
that
that
came
thing?
off. I'm not playing it because I don't know what dust just came off it.
It's been there a
But
while,
yeah,
huh?
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, because no. Oh my god, I'm gonna dust it. It's where I can still see the dust on the thing. It's fine. I was on holiday, that's why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean, for me, Ocarina of Time was the first Zelda game that I played, and I
Mm.
knew next to nothing about Zelda before playing it. And starting the game, I was because I was under the impression it was going to be like this, fast-paced action type game. And you start the game, and you're just like this little boy in a house, and you're like, "What the hell
Mm.
is this?" Right? But then you start playing it, you talk to people, and this whole adventure unfolds, and yeah, it was just amazing for me. So yeah,
Mm.
Ocarina of
Yeah.
Time, that's just my favorite game of all time.
Yeah.
Definitely a great game. For anybody who's not played it,
Good
do yourself a
taste.
favor, go play it.
Exactly. 100%. I feel like it's necessary.
Mm,
It's like it's like a gamer rite of passage, I would say.
yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how they make you do like you Halo your times table in school. You need
Mm.
to play a Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. Yeah, I think that covers just about everything, or a lot of things at least in a way. Unless was there anything else you'd like to say today before we
Wait, you want me
part
to make
ways?
confessions?
Oh, is there anything you want to bring up? Anything you want to ask? Anything you want to say? The
I
floor
was
is
gonna ask
yours.
you with your like podcasting and your content,
Hmm.
um, are they gonna be across? Is it gonna be the same across all your platforms, or are you gonna like have like focus on one for each platform? Because obviously you do like a lot of TikTok stuff, etc.
Okay. Yeah, I mean this is this
But
is
you're like,
separate from
okay,
that.
Mhm.
It's a separate from that. So the podcast is its own thing.
Mm,
So it's its own YouTube channel and its own
mm,
Spotify links
mm.
as well. I mean, I do try to promote it on my things to try and get it out to as many eyes
Nice.
as possible and ears as possible. But yeah, the podcast is its own thing, its own entity that I'm hopefully going to try and keep doing and talk to
Yeah.
more cool people and go from there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Also,
Yeah, that's all I wanted to know.
alright. And, well, speaking of that, actually, anybody listening and or watching, if you have any suggestions of people that you want to interview and talk to, then yeah, drop some suggestions in the comments, and I'll try and arrange that.
Right.
But I think that's going to be it for now. So, Miss Cassie, thank
Yeah.
you very much for
Thank you
coming
for
on today.
inviting me.
Thank you for taking the
Um,
time out of your day to speak to me. I really appreciate it. Big up to you. Big up to everything that you do. You do some amazing stuff. Thank
thank
you.
you.
You're awesome.
You're awesome. Thank you for having
All
me. I appreciate it.
right. Well, until whenever, if ever. Peace.